Okay. So Tashi Deleg, everybody. Okay, so today we are going to learn the three principal aspects of the path, which was actually, and this instruction actually was written by Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ, our great Tibetan master. We call Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ, which is kind of like a, Jamgon actually means we believe that Lama Tsongkhapaâ is the emanation of Manjushri, the wisdom Buddha. So that is why we call Jamgon. Jambeyang, and then the Gombo is like the master. So Master Manjushri. And Tsongkhapaâ is actually where he was born. The place is called the Tsongkha, the region in Tibet. And Pa is kind of like normally the one from Tsongkha region. So like his name is like Tsongkhapaâ. And actually his real name was Lobsang Thakpa. So when we address him, when we remember him, when we honor him, we always address him with this name, Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ Lobsang Thakpa. So that is like how we addressed. So this is actually a text that is like a very precise, very short actually, and very clear. And Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ actually has wrote extensive texts, like he had written many books and many texts, commentaries. And this is a very special instruction. Why this is special is because it was written in the form of a letter. Actually, it was directly written to one of his heart student, ZaChoeje Rinpoche. Master Tsongkhapaâ, actually he has many students during his lifetime of teachings. And like he has actually 7 means he had this like 7 disciple whose activity, whose spiritual activities is like the sky, that they did so many things in the name of Dharma. So one of the disciple is ZaChoeje Rinpoche. And so this ZaChoeje Rinpoche is his direct, like he directly wrote this letter too. And actually, at the end of this letter, like how he concluded, he actually said, like, like in the translation, and swiftly accomplish your ultimate purpose, my son, which is like a very, he was calling him very closely, like he's saying sort of like my child. So it is like Lama Tsongkhapaâ is like the father, and then ZaChoeje Rinpoche was like his spiritual child. So he called like this, like with this very, he showed his affection, he showed his this loving kindness, like accomplish and fulfill your ultimate purpose, my son. Like, just kind of in the form of advice, in the form of sort of like also it is in the form of request. When like it is like the spiritual father actually requesting his spiritual child, like almost kind of like he's folding his hand and saying, please do this and please fulfill your ultimate purpose. So when we say ultimate purpose, actually, it has many different meanings too, right? What is the ultimate purpose? What is the difference between, tengi duma, like which at the end of his letter, actually he said, tengi duma. Ten iki duma, there are many different translations. Actually, tengi duma is like a very powerful word in Tibetan. It is like I come with this, the closest translation in English, like ultimate purpose. So it is like, he's not talking like, actually, Master Tsongkhapa was not talking only just kind of like a short-term purpose. Like tenki means like ultimate, like all, like ten, actually, it's a very powerful word in Tibetan, which ten means like always, or like totally or completely, like, ultimately, like that. And duma means purpose. So it is like he was, of course, like what is the, he was talking about the ultimate purpose. What is the ultimate purpose? The ultimate purpose is even not enlightened for oneself, right? Ultimate purpose is enlightenment, like attainment of enlightenment for all sentient beings. So reaching each and every sentient beings, to the state of enlightenment or to the state of ultimate happiness. And that is the ultimate purpose. So that is our ultimate purpose. Our, we as a person, we as a sentient being, we as a one part of this existence, one part of this universe, that what is our ultimate purpose? Our ultimate purpose is to, to actually reach or to become enlightened or to reach the state of happiness, ultimate happiness, not only yourself, all sentient beings. So see, that is why at the end he said, accomplish, swiftly accomplish your ultimate purpose, my son. So that is like, like how he conclude this letter by actually with this great request, and with actually it is like advice as well as request, and so he was showing this close. So that is why this text is it's like it is not so formal. It is also very casual. It is very casual. So I always think that this text has three what do you call, special qualities. The first quality, we say it is like Tsig Nyung La Ten Duba, means it is not so wordy. It's like there's not many words, and actually it is like if you look at this text, it is also only have a 14 stanza. It has a 14 stanza. That is why it is like it comes in this one page, right? So like there's one front page, one back page, and that is it. So it is very, very short. It's like only 14 verses there. And Ten Duba means, so it is not only just a few words, but actually it has all the meaning in it. All the meanings are actually wrapped. It's actually, it includes all the profound meaning. So that is why that is the first quality. It is, it is few words, but have all the meanings. Then, second quality is actually it is clear. It is. Then sometime when you actually summarize everything, then it becomes very hard to understand, right? Like because you have kind of like you put, you summarize everything, so it is sometimes it doesn't become clear. So the quality of this text is actually it is clear. And it is not only clear, but also, the instruction is just kind of like it is easy to digest. It is clear and easy to digest. So that is the, Tsiksel Nyamzulang Dewa. So, like that. And then the third one is, if you take it, if you actually, what do you call, take it or put it into practice, then Tuenchewa. Means if you really put those instructions into practice, then it is a great meaning. It is not some kind of like, it is some sort of like a meaningless, like things to, like, just kind of, it's not some sort of entertainment. It is not some sort of like just kind of wasting your time kind of practice. If you actually take it, it is like, it is almost saying it is full of nutritions. Your spiritual beings, if you eat it, if it is easy to digest, if you actually take it, it is full of nutrition, then it will help your spiritual being to actually become stronger. So it will bring strength in your spiritual being. Actually sometimes when we look into our spiritual self is very weak. Our spiritual self, somewhere it is crying. It is crying and seeking for like, it is hungry and it is like really starving and it needs attention. It's it's just kind of like it is in the condition of very weak condition and not healthy. So somewhere, our spiritual being, our spiritual self needs a lot of spiritual nutrition. So this, all the nutrition is included there. So that is why this is the three great qualities of this text. And then what it really teaches us, the three principle, actually even the title itself says that, right? Three principle. In Tibetan, ZaChoeje, like in English you translate that as a principle. Like in Tibetan when we say ZaChoeje, ZaChoeje means like the main, the most important, like a ZaChoeje. Three most important path. So why it is these three most important path, spiritual path? Because there is the three path that, in this text, what Master Tsongkhapaâ was actually, giving instruction is like, first one is generating pure renunciation, which is actually a determined mind, which means you are determined, like you generating this determined. So actually it is like what you want to achieve. So actually to answer what I want, what I need to achieve, that it's a nirvana. Beyond samsara. Beyond samsara, if we just keep wandering in samsara, then samsara is a place that we keep struggling and we keep, creating all this like unnecessary suffering, unnecessary misery, again and again and again, just kind of like, and it is like sometimes we are, here, and then sometimes we are there. It's just like it is saying it is a very, very bumpy road. And, you will be like, just kind of like, hurt and feel pain everywhere, sort of like samsara is, that's the nature. So the question is, what should we look? Where should we look? The goal. Where should I see what I need? Then to answer that question, then the first path come, renunciation, determine, like a determined mind. So it is like your focus and should be towards the nirvana. That is what you want. You want a nirvana, you want, an enlightenment beyond samsara. Not, the one that we are looking for, we cannot find it in samsara. The samsara is very deluded. Samsara is just full of illusions. And we get kind of deluded by those kind of like the things in samsara that, where we are finding, like we need to actually, if we are searching for something, we need to know where we are searching. right? If you are searching for a water and where there is no water, if you just keep digging and digging, there's no water, then what is the point? First you need to know where are you searching. It is like if you search for happiness in the samsara, you cannot find it. So where should you look? You should look beyond samsara. So what you are looking for, where you will find it, you will find it beyond the samsara. Beyond the samsara, there is a nirvana. So that is why actually the first path, the first principal path, actually renunciation, pure renunciation, what it means is like, it is like where you are looking for what you want is, it is beyond samsara. That is why it is called renunciation. I don't know it is exactly giving the clear meaning of what Master Tsongkhapaâ want to say. Like in Tibetan, we use the word nye jung. Nye jung, there's a two syllable. And nye, actually nye means nyepartu, nyepar, and sometimes it is also mean definitely, certainly, or like it's some sort of like it's kind of like your like a definite attitude, which means like a certainly, or what do you call, some sort of like a determined, you are determined. So that's like nye. Jung means like actually, jung is like a kind of like a coming out of something. So what is coming out? Coming out of samsara. So it is like beyond samsara. So that is why the first path, the first principal path is called the nyejung. That's a determined, and that actually answer what we are looking for. The second path, which is bodhicitta, the intention, like altruistic intention. So which is actually, it is actually question, the question what it is answering is why? Why I want nirvana? Why I want nirvana? You are where you want the nirvana, you want to go beyond the samsara. It is not just for, if it is just for selfish reason, then it is not going to get there. So that is why I want this, then for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that is like, it is like why. So the second path, the second principal path is actually answering why I want this, why I want to achieve this. So it is for the benefit, for the, for the sake of all sentient beings. So to have that kind of like intention for the sake of all sentient beings, if to have that kind of genuine feeling, what do you need? You need to really feel connection to the sentient beings, right? To feel connection, to feel love, to feel compassion. So you kind of like, if you don't have a genuine sense of compassion towards all sentient beings, then you will not have a genuine sense of like this kind of altruistic intention, right? For the benefit of all sentient beings, I want to achieve nirvana. You will not have that. So that is why the second principal path is answering why. The first principal path is what. What is, the vision, where, what you want. The second is why you want. And the third is how. How can you get there? How can you really, how can you achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings is by understanding the truth, by generating the wisdom, by really seeing the truth, what it is. How do I exist? How do other sentient beings exist? How does actually everything really exist? What is the nature? What is the truth? What is the truth behind every appearance that we see? Appearance seems like, very, sometimes appearance seems very deceiving, right? Appearance seems deceiving. It's kind of like what we see, like what it appears to us is very different from what it really, how it is actually exist. many times we kind of we rely on our five senses. And our five senses, like for example, even for looking at our own eyes, the color and shape. The color and shape does, like everything that we see, all the color, are they exist as we see? Then, it is kind of like we want to say yes, but realistically, nothing really exists as we see, right? It is kind of like somewhere, like we know that, like even like this is a red color, so red color flower. So this red color flower, yellow color flower, it is kind of like, is it so? Like does this one exist as we see? Then I think it will raise a lot of questions, right? So the truth behind the appearance, we need to know. Once we know the truth behind the appearance, and without actually, without really creating obstacles to the appearance, without really disturbing the appearance, leave the appearance as it is. Don't try to mess up the appearance. We are not going against the appearance when we are, when we are trying to understand the truth behind the appearance. So you leave the appearance as it is without disturbing it, without messing up with that. So it is just leave the appearance as it is, and then go beyond the appearance and see how does that exist. So if we know how do we exist, then it is like somewhere we get to the source of understanding that we are all exist in one source, one same, one same kind of like a nature, one taste. It's like a truth, emptiness. And there, when we get to a really understanding, when we generate that wisdom, we will actually know the connection between ourselves and the outside, other sentient beings. When we truly understand our connection, our ego just pops up, and our ego actually separates us from the whole. In reality, we exist with the whole. We are part of the whole. We are not separate from the whole. But our ego gets in there, and it takes you out of the whole, and then the whole is there. I am here, and you don't feel that connection genuinely because you don't understand that. So that is why wisdom comes there. When the genuine wisdom, when you are understanding, when you truly see that you are part of the whole, then you will get a sense of there's no separation. There's no separation. I'm part of the whole is part of me, and whatever I do, it affects the whole. Whatever something happened to the whole, it affects me. So there's kind of like you get this genuine sense of connection. So when you get this genuine sense of connection, then whatever feeling it comes, then those feelings are just genuine sense of love, genuine sense of compassion. And with that genuine sense of compassion, then whatever you are doing, you will be like for the sake of all sentient beings. So for the sake of all sentient beings, what I want, then Nirvana. See, you can just go from the, what I want, why I want, how I want. When you understand how you want, you generate the wisdom, it will make you this kind of like a, generate the altruistic intention, or like the, genuine sense of bodhicitta intention. And then, like you will be more clear, you will be more determined. So that is why three principle path is kind of like divided that way. Okay, so just for you to keep it in your mind, just think like the first principle path is what, second principle path is why, and third principal path is how. Okay, so if you then, like to answer these three questions, Master Tsongkhapa put it in a very clear, precise, few words and, three principal aspects of the path. So we will go more in depth learning of what Master Tsongkhapa has actually, how he gave advice. Of course, Master Tsongkhapa gave this advice directly to his, spiritual son, Ngawan Thakpa, but indirectly, it is kind of like, I think he was giving it to all of us who have some kind of like a karmic connection. Of course, I think just like you are here, I think it is just I think by you being here and we are all here under one roof, learning the three principal aspect of the path by Master Tsongkhapa. It actually clearly shows that we have some karmic connection, right? We have some karmic connection. I think, I don't know whether we believe in past life or not, but there's some kind of like inconceivable, inconceivable forces, inconceivable kind of karmic force that actually, brought us all here together to actually receive the advice, receive the instruction that was given by Master Tsongkhapa. So somewhere, I think there is we all do have some connection. Maybe Master Tsongkhapa actually also prayed when he wrote this. He wrote it directly to his heart disciple Ngawan Thakpa, and then he also said, may even after I die, may this letter goes, and reach many people, and whoever I have a connection, may they connect it, may they actually find this, may they. I think he has put this very kind spiritual prayer. I think, and that is why I think we are getting it. And somewhere from our side also, I think we might have some sort of like a connection with Master Tsongkhapa and Buddha Shakyamuni, and maybe we have prayed in our past life something that someday with my good karma we dedicated, we dedicated with my good karma someday, even though I don't see face to face with Master Tsongkhapa, may I reach his teaching. And also like same thing with the Buddha, like, from a cosmic life point of view, I think it is not too long, 2005, like a little bit around 2,500 years ago, Buddha Shakyamuni came and walked among us in this planet. And, from right now, like our kind of like a conceptual human like a number point of view, we are thinking like, oh, that's too long, like 2,500, very long. But if you look at it from a different angle, if you look at it from a different perspective, 2,500 is not so long. In the cosmic year, like for example, even to get like even the speed of light, traveling with the speed of light, sometime like some stars that died many years ago, and then we are seeing those stars, just kind of like to reach like how long it will take. And then if you look at that number point of view, then 2,500 years is not so long. So 2,500 years ago, Buddha Shakyamuni came into this world and walked among us, and he left a huge imprint in this planet. And from a cosmic point of view, if we look at this planet, is not so big. This is just a one piece. It just called from a cosmic point of view. Then it is just like in this small planet, this kind of great being, like the Master Tsongkhapa, Buddha Shakyamuni, even these days, like a great master like His Holiness the Dalai Lama is kind of like, actively walking among us. And that shows how wonderful this planet is, how beautiful this planet is. And somewhere we are very connected. Like karmically we are connected, and sometimes we should also think that, yes, we are lucky. We should at least kind of pat on our own shoulder saying that we had some good karma. Even though my life is not perfect. If I look at it from a more positive point of view, from more positive side, I think we are well off. Right? So from, spiritually, I think, like materialistically, like many point of view, actually, we are in a good state. So sometime we should just kind of look into present condition and just appreciate that. And so somehow, today we are getting the three principal aspect of the path that was written by Master Tsongkhapaâ. And Master Tsongkhapaâ actually wrote this not just kind of from his, he just didn't make this up. This teaching, this instruction, he didn't make it up. He received it from his masters. And his master received from their master. So it just kind of, it goes all the way. The sources it goes all the way to Buddha Shakyamuni. So sometime, before we go into this in-depth studying or in-depth learning, then it is kind of important. Tibetan tradition, we actually believe that first we pay homage and honor Buddha Shakyamuni. And just kind of feel this connection with the Buddha Shakyamuni, and then just kind of Buddha Shakyamuni, you came into this world, and you passed away, and I didn't get a fortune. I was not fortunate enough to actually see you alive. And then, after Buddha passed away, there are many great master comes like Nagarjuna, Asanga, Chandrakirti, Shandideva. There are many master came, and we didn't catch up with them too, right? And this kind of the instruction, the message was passed down, and then it came to Tibet somehow. And then in Tibet there are many masters. Master Tsongkhapaâ, he received teaching from many Kagyu master, many Sakya master, many Nyingma masters, So there are many masters. Actually when the Buddhism came to Tibet, master Guru Padmasambhava was very mystical master that who had really supported and assisted in establishing the Buddhism in Tibet. So from then Kamalashila, and then many different master and comes to the Master Tsongkhapaâ. And then even Master Tsongkhapaâ, he was maybe 14th century master. 13th, 14th century master, and we didn't really catch them up too, right? So it is just we are 21st century. We are 20th and 21st centuries people, and so somehow what they left is, even though they passed away, they left huge imprints like their text, their learning, and then throughout the master. And so today. So you are actually getting the essence of the Master Tsongkhapaâ and Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching, through this text, the three principal aspect of the path. And he wrote that in Tibetan, and then there are many translations, and actually I received it from many times from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and as well as my teachers in the monastery. And then today I am here passing on to you the oral transmission of the three principle, and somehow also I will explain as much as I can. And then I looked at many different translations. I saw a few different translations of the three principal aspect, and I just kind of I was looking into word by word. And then I thought, okay, this is a short, 14 verses. I can just, do my best to even though my English is not in the level of translation, but like how I understand, from an English point of view, like how, and then just I did my best on just like there is some grammatical mistakes and things like that. Maybe there's some spelling mistake, I don't know. But what I did was like looking at the actual original Tibetan text. And then I just went one, just because sometimes, some meaning lost in translation, right? It lost in translation. So I was very careful, looking at each word, like one by one word, and then see. I will try to, what Lama Tsongkhapaâ, when he puts this word, I think he was very mindful with each and every word, what he had to use the word. There are many different kind of word that he can use, but he was very specific about, I will use this word, I will use this word. So, how he put it, I think it was important. So sometimes if we change the meaning, if there's putting new one or taking out the one that is originally there is, maybe it will create more confusion around. So that is why just I did my best, trying to I translated word by word. So that is actually, you have it here, the three principal aspects of the path. So, as Tibetans say, we first put ourselves together. Before you get this instruction. This instruction is very profound, and somehow we need to keep ourselves very open, right? We need to keep ourselves open, and also we all came here, and we all have many important things in our life. We have so many obligations. We have maybe we have a family obligation, work obligation, a friend's obligation, financial obligation, time obligation. So if you look into our obligation of our own life, we all do have so many things to do out. But we put everything aside. We kept all these things aside, and then we put ourselves together to bring ourselves here. And so we are all here, but then that's not enough, right? Sometimes we do that, we're going into a spiritual learning, events, and we with so many rush, you have to do this thing, and then I come here and now here. And then as soon as you sit here like that, sometimes it happened with me. I'm just not telling about you, from my experience, and so excited about the teachings and, getting to the teaching, and then you're just there and sitting at the, teaching in the audience, and then just you talk to your neighbor, when is it gonna finish? Right? Maybe you're not talking to your neighbor when it's gonna finish, but deep inside thinking, okay, when is it gonna finish? You start looking at the watch, okay, when. Then it is we think that, okay, that is enough just to bring ourselves here, and that's enough. But actually bringing ourselves is a wonderful thing that we came here. But then the starting is when once you are here, you need to, because you have put a lot of things aside. So we should make our time a quality time, good use, right? It's just not some sort of wasting time. And of course, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. All our time is very precious. Each of us, our time is very precious. So just once we get here, we need to really settle. Just settle, and then just let go. Don't, all the mundane concern that you have, just this is a time, just it is not we are having this spiritual event every day. right? It just it is a once in a while, but just as a side time, I think we have been gathering here in this space, and I don't know. Maybe today will be the last, even teaching in this place, and maybe because we are moving end of this month, so somehow maybe this is like gonna be last at this place. So maybe just kind of thinking that make this time good use, make our time good use. And we brought ourselves with a lot of hardship. Once we are here, then let go of all the concern. You're not going to fix all your problems, house problem, family problem, like a work problem. Don't bring it here. You solve your work problem at your work. You solve your family problem when you're with family. You solve your financial problem when you are, when you have a time to, where the time and space. So here, you just only focus. Your only thing is you are just kind of, Dharma listening. So that's just dedicated. You dedicate this time for your Dharma. You dedicate this time to establish this connection. Connection, understanding the three principal path, and somehow, as Master Tsongkhapaâ said, swiftly accomplish the ultimate purpose. And then maybe we don't know what is my ultimate purpose, but somehow, through this lesson, maybe you will learn what is the ultimate purpose. And then, just kind of somewhere you are actually putting your spiritual practice together. You're putting your spiritual practice together, and then just kind of see how much I should put value on my spiritual practice. So it is kind of take this time as sort of understanding the value of your spirituality, and then keep it open. So let us first settle together, and we have this traditional homage and praise to Buddha Shakyamuni. I don't know if you have that or not. You don't have that, right? Do you have that? Everybody got this? Which one you got? The Tempa Chumden Den one? Oh, not this one. I will give you if you can help me by giving this. Yeah, so please, on this side, yeah. So this is, so here, Sean, maybe they are same. Yeah. If we don't have that enough, then please share. Yeah. Okay, so this kind of if you want to look at the chanting, it is okay. If you want to, if you don't want to, it is also okay. Just kind of because you are reading that in Tibetan and maybe you don't understand, and you can just fold your hand at your heart and close your eyes and just kind of listen to my chanting. So it is some sort of praise and homage, honoring Buddha. So as I always say, honoring Buddha, relatively you are honoring Buddha Shakyamuni and all the masters in the past, and Lama Tsongkhapaâ and all relative. They are all relative. The ultimate honor or paying homage that you are doing is actually honoring your own enlightenment. So that is why it is called ultimate Buddha honoring. So you can, that's just kind of, I'm giving you an option. So, it is okay if you don't want to do the Tibetan chanting, you can close your eyes and then just kind of honor it, your enlightenment. And if you want to chant, because, we all have a different nature. Some people want to chant, some people wants to just, close their eyes and just feel it. So it's not a mandatory to do the chanting. Just kind of honor, while I do this chanting, just kind of honor Buddha Shakyamuni on the relative level, and then honor your own enlightenment on the ultimate level. Okay? Dönba jumden den dijin jeban ra jumba yang dagban zobe sangye rekba dan shabzo denban dewara sheban jiden kem Gebon düven kalon gyurwa lana mebal hada minam ge dönba sangye jumden Bege wa shayan tuba la cha ca lo che do gya zun shi wo. Kanze ganyi zo wo kye dama ze sa jen de lang kong ban dun bo ne. Nga ni jik den de na cho je sun te ze ke ba kye la cha ca. Namda gonga chodo su sang wa ye shi gya zo serge lumbo anda chaba jiden sumna lame wa gombo chonye kye la cha sa senjo denpa timen da we shi serdo anda wa kye la cha sa Dede geda seba zuma je nyame genje kyla chaza Gombo doje je denba tamje kembe denba bo Sönama yende gyazu shen de jen she la chaza lon takbe de chan tre wan gyur Gewe nye son len zhe jen, je do ten dama zhon yoro ba. Xi yun zhe lan chan za lon zhe nen zhe we lam yang de, la ba ta la rab do ne. Xing ge tam ba yen den den, gen de la yang chan za Sang ye zo lan chan ca lon gyo ban che lan chan ca lon gen duen che la chan Sum lan da dun gui jan ce chan jara he ban tam je la Xing du gun ge chang ye ge Lu du ba ye nam gun dun cho dun te be chan ca lon dik ba chi yang me cha xin Gewan puzumon sobaran je rangi semne yongsun Dini sanje tenpa yin karma rabri mame dan Gyuma seba jubo dan me lama lo dan jindan bu Duje chun naman tedaran dan sun naman di tamje sikba yi Goban tomne gyenge dan duen de gadan nadan chiwe labju sibe zolen jowan chewara sho. Okay, so this is the honoring Buddha and honoring the enlightenment, and then maybe sometime we do the Heart Sutra. So maybe, today we will just do the short mantra of the Heart Sutra. So first I will do the short praising of the Prajnaparamita, and then we will say the Om Gate Gate Para Sam Gate Bodhiye Soha 3 times, and then I will say the Giri Tonra Jeju Shivada Medunebe Kenda Chevada Timbaruji Puzun Soyu Trashi Tejan Teng Dir Dele Show. That is actually like the prayer with the as we recite the Heart Sutra, all the obstacles, sometime obstacle comes, right? Sometime obstacle comes to, create obstacles in our Dharma practicing and Dharma learning and things like that. So with this mantra, may all the, obstacles remove. So that is the prayer, okay? So that's also tradition. Like when we say removing obstacle, sometimes it is also the obstacle not always comes from outside. The many times the obstacle is our own laziness, discouragement, and some sort of doubt, and it's kind of like a narrow thinking, narrow mind, just kind of those become like an obstacle. So that is kind of like a it is symbolically what we are saying is just removing obstacle, but just kind of you're not letting all these obstacle, also just kind of making prayer that all these obstacle don't come. So anything that kind of like create obstacles for my Dharma listening, all this gone, sort of like that. So that is why I will do the Heart Sutra, short mantra, okay? So first, praise to the Prajna Paramita. Masaman jeme sheram paru je ma ye mega namge ngo nye sozo rare ye shen je ye tuzumon gawe yumla cha za lo gade para sam gade bodhi so ha gade para sam gade bodhi so ha gade para sam gade bodhi so ha Kiri donda gyaju shiwa da medun nebe kentan tewa tumba drupjen pizumo so yurobe draje de yang ting diren de le sho. Okay, so and then traditionally we do the mandala offering. So maybe we should do the mandala offering, and maybe you have that mandala chanting also in your, the paper, that your handout. And so mandala offering is also a traditional, so it is like here, because, earlier I said you have a, karmic connection with the Buddha Shakyamuni and all the master, especially with the Lama Tsongkhapaâ, Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ. And then today you are actually receiving it from, through me. So it's kind of like I become a filter, right? I become a filter that you get this teaching of the Master Tsongkhapaâ through me. And then which I, when we do the mandala, I also do the mandala. So which I do the mandala to Master Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ. So it is kind of like, please help me. Because I'm going to become the vehicle today. So, whatever, how I explain, this, the blessing, this, essence that you have created, please bless me and to go through me to, you all. And then from your side also, just kind of like making this offering to the, to the, like a teacher, sort of like saying, it is a traditional way of kind of like, I offer this, so please give me the teaching. So it is kind of like it's a good system. Like a system is like, I offer the mandala, which is like the universe, So in kind of like Guru Dakshan, in Sanskrit they call. Guru is like the master. Dakshan is kind of like you're offering. So it is like you are offering. So it is like you offer your universe, sort of like this is my universe. And so I want to offer this so that I can get the teaching. So mandala offering is a wonderful tradition and system. So, if you know how to do the mandala mudra, this is kind of like a traditional. So if you're new, maybe it will be hard for you, to kind of put this kind of mudra, like which is kind of gesture, or like the hand, sort of like putting together. So just kind of like if you don't know, it is okay, because important thing is your mind, not the physical aspect. So physical is just a relative. The most important is just kind of offer this from your heart, because you're not receiving the teaching in the physical level. So just on the kind of like you can sometime like a universal gesture of offering, right? When you give a gift to people, or when you offer something, you offer with your two hands, right? So that is that is also universal offering. Just kind of you're lifting your universe, like that. You're holding the world, and like like when you're holding the world, you can think of you're holding the whole planet, or you're holding the whole what do you call universe, and then making this offering to the So it is kind of in the word also. It's saying I offer this to the state of enlightenment, and so that it will get blessed. In somewhere, it is a great karmic connection, collection. Like when you do that, it is like you're accumulating a lot of good karma. It is like you have your own share of the universe, right? So your universe is it belongs to you. And somewhere we kind of create pollution, like we create we pollute our universe with a lot of negative thoughts, negative emotions, and all this kind of grasping and anger and all these things. So sometimes it is good to offer, so that we will not get too attached to our universe. So, and that is kind of like a very powerful practice. Like it accumulates a lot of karma. At the same time, you get your universe to be blessed. So there's like a lot of different benefit on that. So I will recite the mandala offering. Idamam Guru Ratna Mandala Kanhariya Tayami. Okay, so this is the mandala offering. And now we do the refuge, which is actually shaping our motivation. So it is like saying, I go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. Dagi, jinso, dagi, chunye, here you say, through the virtues I collect by listening Dharma and so forth, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that is like, shaping. So it is like my motivation, my intention is, I will do my best to do this on behalf. Like, so it is like I'm listening Dharma on behalf of all sentient beings. So even though, just kind of like you kind of, if you set your mind that way, if you kind of, then it will be very beneficial, somewhere like you are doing this on behalf of. So you're representing all the, mother sentient beings. For their benefit, I'm doing. So it is like somewhere, even just for a few seconds, if you kind of think that, that is a very, it will leave a huge imprint in your deep consciousness. So, just kind of like, even if it doesn't come genuinely, just kind of do it fabricatedly. It is not good to fake it, but better than nothing, right? To say, on behalf of all sentient beings, I'm doing, sometimes it is like, okay, then our ego mind comes in between. Then we say, accept this person, that person. I don't want to represent this person. So just kind of like, don't leave anybody behind, okay? So on behalf of all sentient beings, equally, and just kind of like, let go of attachment, let go of aversion. Just don't, make a very important, like, for the people who actually you're close with. Sometimes it is, with the attachment, with this kind of like our attachment feeling, we kind of makes, a few people very important. And then with our aversion, with our kind of hatred and, resentment and like things, then some people we kind of make it less important. So that is why we say let go of attachment, let go of aversion. So like, don't let your attachment and don't let your aversion comes on the equation here. So just kind of, you leave the attachment and anger and, everything behind. Just kind of treat every sentient beings equally, Then just kind of like, even if it is for a few seconds, 1 second, I think it is okay. Okay, so, so let us do the refuge and shaping our motivation. Sangye Zedang Zoye Chonam La Chanju Pardo Dane Gyapsu Che Dage Cheshe Gebe Sonaman Drola Benje Sangye Drupara Sho Sangye Zedang Zoye Chonam La Chanju Pardo Dane Gyapsu Dage Cheshe Gebe Sonamgi Drola Benje Sangye Drupara Sho. So we will do that in English. So here at the third line, through the virtues I collect by generosity and other perfection, what you say is through the virtues I collect by listening Dharma and so forth, okay? So today we are kind of like, this is the word that we change, okay? I go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. Through the virtues I collect by teaching and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay, so this is our shaping our motivation. And now you have an original in the handout. So today, maybe this is good to do because three principal aspect of the path, the teaching was given, instruction given by Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ, Master Tsongkhapaâ, right? So we have this very beautiful Guru devotion. So this is kind of Guru yoga, like like we, it is like we use this word like, in Tibetan, normally we say ZaChoeje Lama Rinpoche, so I translate that chanting so it is a very beautiful invocation, and it is like my glorious and kind, precious root master. So here, you can visualize is in the form of Master Tsongkhapaâ, like your guru master. Please sit on the lotus and moon at my crown, like a crown level. So it's kind of like you bringing, it's like invocation, sort of like you're inviting, right? So you're asking for the blessing. Please take care of me with your great kindness. So, and this like sometimes, it is a little bit confusing. So what is like and Lama Tsongkhapaâ and why, this, it is kind of like, as I say, relatively in the form of Tsongkhapaâ. It is like in your master Tsongkhapaâ, and then it is actually like the guru is like not outer, like it is like as we honor our enlightenment, it is like it is like your own sort of like your own enlightened self. So that is like your own enlightened self. So your enlightened self and Master Tsongkhapaâ and Buddha Shakyamuni's, their enlightened self is no different. Okay, so it is like you bring that on your crown level, and please take care of me, which is like if our enlightened self guides our life, I think everything will be okay, right? Right now, not the enlightened self is guiding us. Our enlightened self is not taking care of us because we don't let our enlightened self to appear, right? It is like our enlightened self, our best self, our loving self, our compassionate self, our happy self, right? That like enlightened self is right now, our ego self is very powerful. Right? So our ego self is very powerful, and all our life is like really kind of, we are enslaved by our ego self. So it is like whatever we do, somewhere consciously, unconsciously, or subconsciously, we are sort of like driven, right? We are actually, our life is very much driven by our ego. So it is like somewhere, our ego is like sitting on the top of our crown. Sometimes our ego self just comes at our heart level and then say, this is the feeling that you get, and you got to do this. Right? You have to do this, and you have to, and if you don't get it, then, your life is just miserable, and I don't like you, I hate you. So our ego is very powerful right now. So this kind of guru yoga is very powerful practice, which is actually, it is like you're bringing your enlightened self. Okay, so it is like instead of your ego self, your miserable self, your sort of like a negative self, you are actually bringing your positive self. So it is like invocation. You're inviting, your sort of like you. Like even it is for just like a few seconds, I think it is good to, keep bringing it. So that is why we say, my glorious and kind, precious root master. So ultimately, your precious root master is your own enlightened self, okay? That is your guru. That is like your, real ultimate guru. So please sit on the lotus and moon. So which is kind of like, you visualize the lotus flower, big lotus flower. And then on the lotus, like at the center, like a moon disk, just kind of nice cushion. So bring them and then please sit, you are like actually inviting them, and please sit there on the, crown level. And please take care of me with your great kindness. So it is like now you are asking your, guru, your, like enlightened self to please take care of me. I know that my life is driven. My life is actually controlled by my ego. So now I'm just kind of like, this time I'm not letting my ego to drive me. I'm going, that is my wish. I really wish and I really want my enlightened self to drive me. make decision of what I need to do and how would I do. So please take care of me with your great kindness and grant me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. So see, that is what he's saying. Grant me, like please give me, so that, my body is, the attainment, like the quality of your body, which is like your body is always helping. Your body is always helping yourself, helping others. So, attainments of your body, attainment of your speech, which means, my enlightened self, that speech is a very, spiritual speech, right? And then mind. So it is like attainment of your body, attainment of your speech, attainment of your mind. Please give me. And then, we recite the, here, like, we recite on the relative level, we connecting with the Master Tsongkhapaâ. And so, Mingme Tsewe, Tejen Resi, Temikime Ombo Jambeyan, the Womalu Jumza Sameda, Kanjen Kebe, Zuyen Tsongkhapaâ, Lopsan Traweshala, so on there. So this is a Tsongkhapaâ, kind of like an invocation. So asking to bless, to bring this, sort of like a blessing. And then also because we are learning three principal aspects of path. So just kind of like I am open for this, your instruction. And I'm totally open for this. Please, let me understand what you really want to, you want me to understand. So that is kind of like a invocation. And then at the end, this is also a very wonderful prayer. Actually it's a simple word. It's a, my glorious and kind, precious root master. Please, now, from the crown, you are actually bringing that enlightened self into your heart. So it is like from the crown. So now next one is, please sit on the lotus and moon at my heart. So it is like now you're not just putting your guru, your enlightened self on the crown, and it is you're bringing it to the heart level. So it is also like a symbolically, when you put that on the crown level, it is like on the surface, on the consciousness level. Like we have our existence, like our consciousness, like we have some kind of conscious level, right? We do many things on the conscious level, and then we do many things subconsciously or unconsciously, right? Just kind of like something that we don't know. It comes from feelings, right? It comes from some sort of like a deep feeling and stuff like that. So that is the significance, like you're bringing your enlightened self, enlightened gurus, that into your heart. So which is kind of like, even not just to guide me and take care of me on the consciousness level, also to take care and guide me from the unconscious level. So when from the unconscious level or from the subconscious level, when your enlightened self is guiding you, then everything is good. Right? Not just on the conscious level, but from the very deep unconscious or subconscious level. So you're bringing this enlightened self into your heart, which means like bringing a little bit down, like under the surface of consciousness, bringing it on the subconscious level. And so that, it is like these three invocations are like, please take care of me with your great kindness and grant me the attainment of your body, your speech, and mind, right? And then it's, again, the next one goes, my glorious and kind, precious root master, please sit on the lotus and moon at my heart. Please take care of me with your great kindness and grant me the supreme and common spiritual attainment. And the third one, my glorious and kind, precious root master, please sit on the lotus and moon at my heart, and please take care of me with your great kindness and remain here with me until I achieve enlightenment. So see, please remain here. It's not like just this one time you're guiding me. Just remain here with me all the time. So that is an invocation, asking for the help, asking to take care. So maybe we will do this, kind of like we will recite this in English so that you will know what you're saying, okay? And then we will do the Mingme Tsewe Derjen Cheresi, the invocation mantra. So the invocation mantra actually is very It is kind of like a simple but very powerful, which first it is saying, I honor and, you are the embodiment of compassion. So the Timekembe Ongbo Jambeyang, which the second line is saying, you are the embodiment of wisdom. And third one is Dubon Malu Jomze Sangweda, you are the one who actually full of courage that actually overcome all the demons. Demon not in a physical sense, but like emotion, afflictions, delusions and all this. And Kanjin Kebe Zugyan Tsongkhapaâ, Master Tsongkhapaâ, you are the crown jewel of all the masters of the Tibet. And Lobsan Chakbai Shallah Soadip. So I seek blessing from you. So I want to seek, please bless me and, bless my mind stream so that, I can, reach my enlightenment like that. So that is the meaning. So please, we will do that mantra, invocation mantra 3 times, and that time you really, as you are saying, feel it, okay? You feel it you say it like you mean it, okay? So first, we bring the Master Tsongkhapaâ and our enlightened self, here. So I will just kind of do the invocation, short invocation chanting, so, incantation, and that is like inviting them. And then we do the request, okay? Malu zimjen gwengi gwengyuro jen dede bonje mesen jomze Allah ngena malu yanda kengyuro be jomden korje nedere sheksu. Okay, ready? My glorious and kind, precious root master, please sit on the lotus and moon at my crown level. Please take care of me with your great kindness and grant me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. Mingme zewe derjen jenre se teme gembe ongbo jambe yang debon malun jomze sangwe da kanjen gebe zogen Tsongkhapaâ lobsan chakbe shabla sowande mingme zewe dejen jenre se teme gembe wangbo jambe yang debon malun jomze sangwe da kanjen gebe zogen Tsongkhapaâ lobsan chakbe shabla sowande mingme zewe dejen jenre se teme gembe wangbo jambe yang debon malun jomze sangwe da kanjen gebe zogen Tsongkhapaâ lobsan chakbe shabla sowande. My glorious and kind, precious root master, please sit on the lotus and moon at my heart. Please take care of me with your great kindness and grant me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. My glorious and kind, precious root master, please sit on the lotus and moon at my heart. Please take care of me with your great kindness and grant me the supreme and common spiritual attainments. My glorious and kind, precious root master, please sit on the lotus and moon at my heart, and please take care of me with your great kindness, and remain here with me until I achieve my enlightenment. Okay, so this is an invocation of your master and Master Tsongkhapaâ. So now, before we go into the 3 principal aspects, I will just read the original text, and that is like the oral transmission of the this text. So which the first, I think it is good to get the oral transmission, and then we can go in depth. and in like as I have translated. So, and the translation is pretty. I think if I understand, you should understand. My English level, I might say like a 6th or 5th grade level English. So, so it is like a very easy to understand English. So I will do the oral transmission. So please listen, with your mind and heart open. And so this is, I got the oral transmission directly from, Master His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and then like some of my masters in the monastery too. And, of course, they receive it from their master, So it is kind of like we have a very strong, unbroken lineage that is totally like, connecting to the Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ, So Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ gave this to his, heart student, ZaChoeje, and then ZaChoeje gave it to, others. So it is just kind of like we have a, there's a blessing, sort of like this blessing. Somewhere, this is like a different, original language that was written in Tibetan. And I received that in Tibetan, so I will give that oral transmission in Tibetan. And sometimes, just when you really open your mind, you really open your heart, or you open your consciousness, your conscious level part, and you also open your unconscious, subconscious, just like, because you need that blessing, you need that blessing, and especially on your subconscious level, more unconscious level, because deep inside on the very deep level of consciousness, like we have so many pollutions, like just kind of like, that is like very negative, that, it is there. So we need to actually bring those nectar, so the teaching nectar in there. So even though you don't understand the language, the meaning, and maybe sometime just let it open without any conceptual thoughts. So it's just kind of like, you just kind of say, it doesn't matter, like whatever I think deep inside my spiritual being really understand, really understand what it is. Because language, words, and, those things are not, not necessary, when it comes to the, so it is more sort of like, you open your more subconscious, unconscious, like, like level, and receive this, and it is, you are very fortunate that, you get this, and somewhere, I think it will leave a huge imprints in your consciousness. It will leave some huge, imprints, spiritual imprints that will help you, even though it is just a, it creates a one ripples in your consciousness, but this ripple has an effect that, has like a butterfly effect, that when you are enlightened, you look back and then you will say, that is where it was created. So, please open your mind, heart, and your consciousness and take this. And first, I will also invite, and of course, it's not on this human dimension. We have like we all see each other, but then on the other dimension, there are many other beings who wants to open and who wants to receive. So Tibetan, we also invite them, saying, whoever they are, who are in this place, in this time and space, wants to receive this, they are welcome to receive this. So it is kind of like it is a generosity practice of Dharma, like whoever wants, I will give, just take it like that. So this is the traditional first invitation of any beings that is here who wants to receive this. La dan la me me da me anje ombo dan ja je la zo chue ge zho la ja wa che ba na sang ye sung ba rab do je jen de wen yu yu wang de da xie ge dan be chun ye jen ne de xie xie na mo la yi ge dan lu dan ne jen ge ru bong ta da mi ge nam dan ro ku ye ran na je ji zong ba tam je ge do da ge chue den do gang ge du ze nie zo ne da wa tam je ba be je tam be chue ne den ze be ka dam te la cha ce lo 강시 신대에서 저 종가 방어도 배운 좀 야습지 동아 댐베다고 그저 야와 yapse 숨라 그자 셀. Okay, so now the actual oral transmission. 지주 라마 남라 자자 로 개외 송라고 군기 닝베 된 개세 담바 남겐 아벨 남겐 된 타도 남게 종데 지달 누신 타게 셔바자 강다스변데 라마자 젠텐조 텐여자 제전바예 겨와게베 람라이 된베 겐덴 테다 당웨 이기년 남당에 좀에 바시조예 된데 된예 시웬타메 라실라 깜바이 양 르젠 남군네 젠저 통망에 존제 예존제 텐조니가 셀라 롱메베 일라gon베 세데 낭셰도 렌데 멜론 코르벤 동에 남양양 삼네 진네 낭셰도 대다론 공배 고외 변조라 이메 기지 zam야 미게 신인zen 군도 타르바 되니로 존나 대제에 존게바라 예존 대야 남다 심제게 셈바메나 라메 찬주기 분손 대wen 유로메 유로웨 론덴 남게 찬주 심조게 슈도 주원시 연균게 계른 도가 레게 신화 담배담 당진 자게 다변 보소저 마레멘베 마젠 군네 대몸에 세브라게 셴케와 론동에 숨게 균세 메바르날 내가 버딘다 교베 마남게 강즈 삼네 심조게 브란즈 네로 도베 셰라 메데나 예존 찬주 셈라 공제 장세베 자완 쳬바라미네베 데지르 텐데 도베 탈란베 강시 고르데 쳬남 탐제게 윤데 남양 로와 메동시 미베 데소 강인 꾸시과 데네 산제 개베 람라조 나와 덴데 로와 메바다 동바 켈렌 데베 고와니 지스 소소로 나와 데세도 다돈 투베 공바 도바 메 남시 렌조 메바르 찍자르도 덴데 멜로 통와 삼니네 예시 율기 진당군제나 데제 따벤제 반조바라 신야 낭웨 여다 세와 당 동베 메다 세진 동바니 유단 제부 처벨 술시나 단진 따베 초바 메유로 대다르 람게 조 남송게 내남 랑게 지신 도베제 엠바텐데 준르 도비에네 땡게 두마니 돈 드롭시 부. Okay. So this is the oral transmission, and so as I mentioned earlier, this is short, right? Very few words. Yeah. Okay, so this is the three principal aspect of the path, and by Jamgon Lama Tsongkhapaâ, Lobsang Trapa, and the translation, the first word in the text, Lama Tsongkhapaâ, actually he said, "Jizun Lama Namla Chatselo." So this is how he began the text. In English translation, it's "I pay homage to all the honorable masters." So, and this is great, starting. It is just kind of like it is also, there is a lot of message there. When he said, "I pay homage to all the honorable masters," so it is actually showing how much humbleness he is. Like he was actually showing, like it is not. I'm not just. I didn't made it up. It is not something I learn it. It is like not naturally born wisdom that I have. He said, "I'm not this creating. whatever I am right now, it is through the kindness of my master. So it is like he actually, he respect, he pay homage. So it is, this word actually, teaching the importance of the Guru devotion. So it is like in the Lamrim teaching, there's like all the Guru devotion, how to how to approach your master and how to, there's like all this like the importance of the master, like where you learn. So it is not some sort of like like it is also saying the foundation. The foundation of the practice, like in the foundation of all the good qualities, he also, Master Tsongkhapaâ said, which means like the foundation of all the spiritual growth. The first thing is you need to have this kind of like a devotion. It is like the devotion, it is it is not saying sort of like, sometimes it is very misinterpreted, like sometimes, the Guru devotion and, this kind of like honoring your master, sometimes we kind of like, we take that into a very mundane level, like some sort of like, the Guru is like the, just kind of like there, and then, we always think like honoring and respecting, we take it very on the physical level, and physical level, we kind of put a more important, like prioritize. We prioritize like respecting on a physical level more than mind, but actually it's opposite. It is actually opposite. Opposite is like the physical, outside showing comes at the end, not first. First it is coming from your deep heart. So it is the respect, also like sometimes we kind of like in the West, it is very easy to create this kind of like a misunderstanding of the Guru devotion. Sometimes people say, like like there is like a, when you make an offering to the master, like, there is like a offering of the material, offering of like doing whatever your master tells you to do, like, things like there are this kind of, it will create a very, create a very strong misunderstanding. But, it is like, these are like, sometimes it is easy to use that. Easy to use it for some sort of what you call your ego. Like sometimes, like people, they say, like, okay, I am the master, and now, like I want to, use my power, and then I will enslave you. Just kind of like I will tell you to do this, do this, do this. And if you don't do this, then you're going to hell. So it's actually a misuse of power. But actually, it is a real Guru devotion is it's a mutual respect. It's really a mutual respect. It is like, for example, sometime, like, maybe sometime people wonder, like even like when we do the Buddha's teaching, like, we make the throne. And so, like I'm sitting on the throne. It is not saying I'm superior than you. It is like I'm not, like even like in the Tibetan tradition, when the Lama comes on the throne, we actually snap like this. What does that mean? It means that it is impermanence. So it is like, think of impermanence. And then when, why you are doing this is you are not, making yourself more superior or something. It is a respect out of your respect to the teaching. It is respect to the Buddha. Even Buddha, when he, like normally he was sitting, and then some people come and ask for teaching. Buddha, there was one occasion, he actually, made his own throne. He made his own throne and he sit on the throne. And then he started teaching. And then some people actually asked Buddha, why did you do that? Why can't you just sit down when, equal with the people and then give a teaching? And he said, this is not to make myself important. This is to make the teaching important. Teaching out of respect to the teaching, we actually put a throne. It is not, sometimes it is a misunderstanding. Okay, like you are trying to make yourself superior and things like that. It is not, it is like even if you have sometimes, your arrogance, things come. So when we snap, actually it is saying, remember, it is impermanence. So impermanence, like Kamarabri Mameda, sometimes the master even recite these words like Kamarabri Mameda Yumasiba Chubuda, those like mentally you have to recite, saying, like I think in the praising, like we have that, right, somewhere. Kamarari, yeah. So like a star, mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, flash of lightning, a cloud. See all compounded things as such. That is the recitation. Mentally, you have to recite, Kamarari Mamya. So that is why Guru devotion is very delicate, very sensitive. So it is very easy to create that some sort of like a cult-like, if you use it with the selfish intention, I think it is very easy to use it. But then if you use it, then it is like we are messing that up from the foundation. If we kind of like, even from the master side, if you do this with the, some sort of with the selfish, like a kind of like intention, then you are already messing that up from the foundation. Even, Guru devotion is the foundation of all the spiritual development. So that is where we need to be very careful. So we need to be very careful. It is okay, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, you can actually go and listen to people giving a teaching. It is like in the form of lecture. It is okay. So it is just like you kind of like, if you go and listen by like, okay, this is my guru, this is my teacher, then it is different, little bit. This like just kind of listening to the teacher doesn't create that connection like a master-disciple relationship. Just kind of, if you are listening as in the lecture form, you can go to any lecture, right? You still don't have this kind of master-student relationship. But it is like a master-student relationship is very mutual. Like even, like you have to request the master to be your master, and the master say, yes, I will do my best. So you create this kind of bond with kind of based on respect. Not not from the student side thinking that I want to use my master, then like for my selfish reason, then it is this is not a good intention. Even from a master side, okay, now I am collecting a many student, so I will use that, for my advantage. Like I will take advantage of them. Like then that is another kind of, messed up intention. So that those things kind of we have to, so that is why it is very delicate, very sensitive, this, Guru devotion practice, and have to be very careful. So even like in the Tibetan tradition, we have this system, like before you really, clearly establish this guru-disciple, relationship, even if it takes 12 years to investigate it. It is okay. You can examine, like, okay, this one I'm not totally committed. You don't have to commit it. It is not like there's no force or anything. But just kind of once you establish this, then just kind of be careful. Sometimes, different people has a different nature, right? Some people are very positive. right? Our mind is very positive. We always, even something happen, you interpret that positively, right? Okay, this is my own fault. It's not the master's fault. Like people, so that is why some, like even in Tibetan tradition, we have a two system. One system is that you have a many teacher, because you can actually you can practice that devotion. And sometimes you have a very little teacher, which kind of like you can actually create this connection with that teacher more stronger. So it is kind of like there's two systems already. So just kind of depending on how your human nature is, then we just go with it. Sometimes it is kind of like before I said that also, like sometimes, because our spiritual being is very hungry, we go, right? And we try to, get all the informations. And then there are so many, spiritual, I call this like a spiritual junk food, right? Available. And the internet, especially these days with the Facebook and YouTube and all this kind of internet, just kind of so many things are available. If you are not careful, you might be eating everything. You might be eating everything, and it will be very unhealthy for your spiritual. So whatever you eat, just kind of how can you check? Is you should always check your intention, okay? Your intention, and then see, examine it. Even Buddha said that. Before it is okay, first to listen is okay. But after you listen, what you take, what you really eat, that is you need to examine. Even Buddha said, examine the teaching. Even my teaching, Buddha himself said, even it is my word, even if they say this comes from Buddha's, his own word, then don't just believe that comes from Buddha's word. You should analyze it. You should examine it. You should examine it not just one time, 2 times, 3 times. And then after you analyze and you see, you think, okay, this is a wonderful piece of instruction, I want to apply. Then only you eat it. Then only you use it. You use it and you take it like that. So that is why, just kind of I pay homage to all the honorable master. Is like actually a guru devotion that Master Tsongkhapaâ is showing. That he himself was he pay homage. He was thinking of their kindness, and he was also honoring them. So then, the first word, the essential meaning of all the teachings of the Buddha. The path praised by all the noble bodhisattva. The entrance for all the fortunate ones wishing Nirvana. To the best of my ability, I shall now explain. So that is the Master Tsongkhapaâ saying. So this actually, the first word, the first line is actually the essential teaching of all the, essential meaning of all the teachings of the Buddha. That is, what Buddha wants to teach us is the Nirvana, the, happiness, right? So that is why, the first line is actually explaining the first principal path. That is the determined, and that is, pure renunciation. And the second line, the path praised by all the noble bodhisattva, that is the bodhicitta, altruistic intention, right? So that is the second principal path. And the entrance for all the fortunate ones wishing Nirvana, the entrance, the gate of the, who wants to going into that, that is the wisdom, right? Understanding the truth. So to the best of my ability, jidran nushin, to the best of my ability, which Lama Tsongkhapaâ, is saying, I will do my best. So this is also a good advice for us. You know, he was saying, I'm doing my best, you should do your best. So, to the best of my ability, you know, jidranushin, dagi shebracha means I shall now explain. Da means I, you know, shebracha means explain. So, you know, when, now, dagi shebracha, right? You know, now I'm going to. So this first actually is the summary of the three principle path, right? So some master actually said, you can actually put, you know, all the three principle path has, you know, even the pure renunciation, bodhicitta, wisdom, they are the essential meaning of all the Buddha's teaching. You can actually make it that way too. You know, three principle path is the essence of, you know, essential meaning of all the Buddha's teaching. Three principle path is the path that is praised by the noble bodhisattva. Three principle path is the entrance for all the fortunate ones wishing nirvana. So you can actually, you know, you can use that way too. So that is the, you know, summary. To the best of my ability, also it is showing how humble he was. You know, Master Tsongkhapaâ is saying, you know, of course Master Tsongkhapaâ can do, you know, really perfect. But even like here, he is saying, to the best of my ability, as much as I can. So which means, you know, it is like I will put all my effort, which means whatever I do, I am doing this with my best ability. You know, best ability like is with this kind intention, right? My intention is just to help you. It is like he was also, you know, here in this line, to my best ability, when I'm doing my best, which means I will, you know, I will be my best self. You know, I will be my best self, which means like I'm not doing this out of, you know, like trying to get some kind of name, fame, you know, or kind of personal gain. You know, it is like there is no intention, you know, any whatsoever, like a mundane intention. I don't have that. So it is like I will explain it with my best ability. So, you know, doing your best is like you actually bringing yourself on the best, you know, best kind of like a self. So my best self, I put my best self and my enlightened self, and then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain this three principle path to you. So, you know, even this word also has a lot of message in it. You know, just kind of like, even when you are doing something in your mundane life, you know, like maybe doing your best, you know, with your best ability, do your best. So which means sort of like, if you are your best self, how could you do this? Right? Like, for example, like if someone says something to you, and then if you just take 1 second of, you know, just stop and think, right? Just stop and think, okay, the person is doing this to me, how should I react? You know, then you bring your best self up, right? You bring your best self up, and then react. Like, you know, like sometimes just think of that, like when this situation happened, how would Buddha handle this? What will Buddha do? Right? What will Buddha do? So, you know, just kind of like you bring your best self and then see, you know, like you can actually, sometimes you can contemplate on that. See, you know, okay, you know, like I am going to react, you know, I'm going to do this work. I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to live my life. Even just think like that, right? Say, I'm going for lunch pretty soon, right? So I'm going for a lunch. How I'm going to eat? How I'm going to eat? I'm going to bring my best self up. And, you know, I will do my best in eating is like, I will, you know, like my best self will eat this way, right? My best self, I will bring up my best self. And then, you know, how would my best self will, you know, do this, how my best self will perform this activity, right? See, and then you kind of do that way. That is like your best self is guiding you. So that's like, we always kind of sometimes we do the invocation, bringing my best self. And, then just kind of like, first you do 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, and then slowly, slowly, kind of like, just like in 24 hours, you do this 2 time or 3 time. And then just kind of like, sometimes if you are a, regular spiritual practitioner, you might be doing a 6-session Guru Yoga, right? So when you're doing a 6-session Guru Yoga, that is your commitment. What is your commitment is like for 6 session, 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening, I'm going to bring my best self. I'm going to bring my best self. Just that's the least practice. So, maybe you can just set it up like, and first thing when I get up in the morning, I will do this. And then when I'm having a breakfast, and then when I'm driving, these 3 sessions, right? Bringing your best self. And then I think that is just the practice of mindfulness. You kind of apply this, and then slowly what you are actually establishing is like, and then you will be doing your thing all the time with your best ability. So this is actually what he's saying, to the best of my ability, I shall now explain. So, Master Tsongkhapaâ is saying, I'm doing this, this is my activity right now, right? And with my best ability I'm doing. So this is just the example. So not only during this time, just like any activity that we perform and we do to the best of my ability, we should do. And that is Master Tsongkhapaâ is doing. So, okay, so we will take a break to the best of my ability. Right? I bring my best self up. And then we say, I'm going to take a break here. So the lunch break, okay? So eat your lunch with being a best self. All right, thank you. And then we will, I think, gather around, now it's almost 12:30, so maybe around 2:20. Yeah. Like a 2 hours break.